It's the time for the package from China. Let's go. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in, because in this video we're going to take a close look at the new style. It's also called the X50 Max 5.1 screen size. So nevertheless, we have reviewed a lot of different handhelds, but when it comes to this particular model, the X series is more like the low budget series when it comes to AliExpress China. You can find them, by the way, over everywhere nowadays, but what you're going to get is sometimes outdated piece of crap, and sometimes it's just surprisingly not bad. So when it comes to some particular part of the box art, it's absolutely laughable, especially when you're looking at some of the things. They're calling over here 3D. They're having H264, you know, like a lot of nonsense they put on the box to just sell it. And I can tell you, if you're going to have high expectations, you will always be disappointed with this. But what are we actually going to get? That is the reason why we're going to do this unboxing review today. I just wanted to see, is this thing any good nowadays? Because their competition is going to be crazy when it comes to these devices. It's kind of funny, with these old school X series, we're going to have like horrible airbots. These things are not comfortable or don't sound at all. Still wonder why they give you this. We have like a mini USB. They're still using mini USB on these devices, where most of them have like Type-C now. But let's see what we're going to get in here, and that is an interesting feature. We're going to get HDMI, so you can use this thing also like in game console. And it's very cool. They're going to give you a mini HDMI cable, because this is something they don't do very often. Sometimes you need to pay for it, sometimes you're going to get it almost kind of for free. Though the paper manual explains how the system works, but I can tell you, it's most of the time pretty damn pointless. But let's take a close look at the device itself. And the first thing I already noticed, like, this thing is heavy. Whoa! Normally they're like cheap plastic, but the weight, that is interesting. At the back, we're not going to get ourselves the horrible cameras what we had with the first generation. I think they're starting to learn. I do wonder if having... No, wait. No, we only get mono speaker over here. They're still doing that. It looks almost having two speakers, but nope. Well, I love the logo with the VS and the two fists in here. Portable multiplayer. It only has 8 GB internal storage. At the top we're going to get the HDMI out, then of course the SD card. The SD card is like always a cheap brand, 64 GB. I can tell you these things are pretty damn horrible and get corrupted fairly easy. And headphone jack out, the old school USB mini, the on off switch, and we're going to get ourselves a USB port, because we can plug in an extra controller if you want to. The form factor itself looks kinda nice. We have seen it with Powkiddy, but the plastic they're using is absolutely like really cheap. Cheap. But the most important thing, let's smell it. Doesn't smell chemical. It smells kinda nice, by the way. So let's remove these plastics and let's take a close look at the controls. Yeah, there is not really a D-pad with this. We're just going to get 4 separate buttons. We have seen it with other models. If you want to play some Street Fighter, it's absolutely out of the question. But the touch itself, it's not bad at all. Due of the round shape of the buttons, they are very comfortable to play, but when you touch it, they have a very long travel. When it comes to the analog sticks, we're not going to get the analog sticks like the Nintendo Switch. Nope, we're going to get the slider ones like with the PlayStation Portable, but only a really cheap quality. Select start over here, the escape, and plus and minus. I'm guessing this is for volume control. 2 analog sticks, but the weird thing is I'm curious if this is going to be configured with the ABXY. You would think, hey, we're going to get stuff like a PlayStation game that supports dual analog and we can just play the game like that, but that's not the case. That's so weird. The shoulder buttons, we're going to get micro switches underneath, and this is basically what we're going to get when it comes to the X50 Max. The shell, the design, it's not bad at all. But let's turn it on and let's take a close look at the screen itself. Okay, so booting up, we're going to get ourselves camera U. Yep. With the basic intro logo. Okay, that's new, because the intro is completely different. Another thing we need to do is remove the freaking screen protector, or the piece of plastic that is on top of here, because it's very difficult to record. Let's remove it. Normally I'm always leaving that on, but take consideration when you're going to remove this particular one. It's not actually like a screen protector, or at least like for transport. But the plastic they're using is very thin. It's absolutely horrible. I was just looking at this plastic. I was wondering, is it seriously that I removed the screen protector? But no. It's actually just a piece of plastic. So, would not be the first time ever removing and ripping and tearing the screen protector off. That I upper layer didn't come loose, but nope, it's just a protective plastic. Oh man, that's really bad. Do you know why this is really bad? Because if you're going to put this in the bag, this thing is going to be scratching up like crazy. Because this is just plastic for testing, not Gorilla Glass or anything else. Oh boy, and also it's going to be very glossy, but when you're looking at the overall quality, the view angle is pretty damn bad. So this is going back all the way to the old school days, but I do think it's pretty damn cool. So when you can see that we have like some light up feature when it comes to the buttons, the ABXY and the, I would say, the D-pad or the 4 directional buttons. Well, that's kind of cool. So we're having music, video, theme, photos, ebook, browser. It's kind of cool, but also kind of naughty. So they call this thing the browser. You're thinking, hey, can I go in internet? But no, this is actually just for going into the file browser. Yep, that's actually what we're going to get. That's so bad that they're doing that. They're adding like an Internet Explorer logo. So we're going to the side. The shoulder button doesn't do that. That would be a great feature. But these are just a couple of fixed thumbnails. That's it. You know, that's absolutely messy. So take consideration, if the file behind this gets corrupted, you're swapping an SD card, whatever, these links are going to be broken forever. Or that is what I have experienced. But let's take a close look at game. Recent run list. We have the built-in games. What's kind of cool, do we have a list over here. The list indicates that we're going to play PlayStation 1, but I don't think that's going to be happening. CPS, MAME, Famicom, NES, like Famicom, NES, look at this, the logos. It's in Game Boy Advance, so what the hell is going on? And then of course we're going to get Game Boy Classic. Oh boy, let's see if we can go to the different systems. Mega Drive, the Master System, Super Nintendo. There's a lot of different stuff that we can actually play with this. But let's start off with N64, or N64, NES. Let's boot it up and let's see how it works and how the quick load and quick save menu is. Okay, so next up, where you're going to get on pressing the escape button in-game, we're going to get ourselves the option that we have seen many times before. But I do notice when it comes to the overall experience of the menu, it works quite fast compared with the previous models. And okay, I messed it up with pressing the wrong button. Okay, escape. Then we're going to get to the setting. Sound output can be changed. Key mapping. Screen size can be put to scale. That's interesting. So let's check that out. Joystick mode and reset settings. Alright, turn to the game. And what you can see over here, we can actually play in 4:3 aspect ratio. That's kind of cool, to be honest. Alright, maximum volume that we're going to do. Let's see how responsive the slider joystick is. It's quite responsive. I hate it. Don't get me wrong. I really hate it. And funny thing is, I'm actually like playing on an angle now. That's quite difficult. Recording and trying to freaking play this. But when it comes to the overall emulation performance for the NES part, it seems to be working just fine. No, the volume goes quite loud, but unfortunately only having one speaker. So what I did notice, when you're going to put the particular game platform on stretch or like aspect ratio, everything will be changed. So there's only one setting for every emulator. So if you want to play in 4:3 but you want to play in widescreen with a different system, but so far so good. Oh, there we go. The shoulder button don't do anything. There is no turbo button implemented. But the overall performance of Game Boy Classic is pretty good. Okay, next up, let's try some Game Boy Advanced. The first thing I've noticed, we do have like some sidebars over here. So the aspect ratio has been put in a very nice format. Let's listen to the soundtrack itself. That's the reason I keep playing the same games, because I can dream these. Oh man, I wish they put the D-pad over there. But okay, it's me. All the sound effects are here. Let's go high speed. But I don't see any weird shenanigans going on the display itself. Next time for some beefcake dudes turn into wolfies. Also here, great audio, alright. All the buttons have been mapped, let's see if we can jump, yep. I think with the first generation of the X series we had like this weird thing that we had jumping on the shoulder buttons that we couldn't remap, or we were missing out some button layouts. But so far I can hear all the audio effects are here. Okay, that's nice. So when it comes to overall performance for the emulator of Mega Drive or Genesis, that works pretty damn well. Next up, let's take a close look at Super Nintendo. The reason also why I choose Diddy Kong Quest, this game and many other do have problems when it comes to the certain like S-series handhelds. And you can just hear that I have this weird crackling noise. It's quite difficult to let you hear this simply because we don't have like a lot of volume when it comes to this particular emulator. But let's see how the overall gameplay is. Let's see how the buttons are mapped. Oh, so this they messed completely up because the Y is now this particular attack. Alright, so let's try to play it like this. But the overall performance is not super bad, but you can just hear the noise in the background maybe. And it's absolutely not like it's supposed to be running. But beside that weird audio thing going on, they did improve the overall quality when it comes to the gameplay itself. Next up, let's try a little bit of an arcade gaming. And when it comes to this, it runs pretty damn well on this. The unfortunate part is that the D-pad is so bad, or the 4-button directional buttons, that most can get out that quite difficult. The slider analog stick is slightly a better option, but in my opinion I really hate this freaking thing. But the overall performance when it comes to arcade is not bad at all. The next part I wanted to check out, how is the PlayStation 1 running? With previous model it was absolutely a disaster. Okay, so first of all, it seems to be that they fixed the problem. The next thing we need to do is set up and check out the aspect ratio. So the scale is looked completely messed up, so let's get to full size, return to the game. So it's otherwise we're going to have this weird scaled moment. Okay, let's go all the way back. Sometimes it can be a problem with the software itself. Let's go to scale. Let's go to return game. But no, it's not going to be any better. So when it comes to the scaling option, it's absolutely not working. So I'm going to put it back again to full screen because I rather have like stretched up than this weird aspect ratio. Yeah, no, it's not running perfectly. Nope. Unfortunate they didn't fix the PlayStation issue. So what you're going to get with this is that we do have some games are playable. Think about the two-dimensional stuff, but it's not perfect at all. No. A little bit of a bummer that with the X50 Max they didn't fix the PlayStation emulator issue. If this is a software issue or an hardware issue, don't know. We cannot change anything whatsoever. Another thing that did improve is the HDMI or TV out function. With the previous models we also need to go to settings and set it up with a lot of shenanigans. But now what you can do is just plug in your HDMI cable and it will automatically transmit to the screen itself. And the television will turn on, but this will be turning off. The first thing I noticed that the signal itself comes out of the HDMI is very crisp and clear. That's absolutely amazing. So when it comes to the TV out function, it works like a charm. Well, looking at the screen, the signal looks absolutely amazing. Next thing I'm going to do, let's take a close look at the settings. If we can set the screen size all the way back to scale. Because this function already mentioned before, if you're going to set it to scale, every single emulator will be set to scale. So you cannot do this every single emulator and have separate configurations. Okay. Yeah, so that's another thing that happens sometimes. The software is just glitching out. So let's see what happens if we're going to restart the game. Nope, it's still doing it. We need to go all the way out. We need to boot up the game. Let's see if it still gives that weird widescreen. Yep. So that is a problem I've noticed a lot with this. Okay, now try it again, or it's not going to be working at all. No, it's not going to be working at all. So that's unfortunate when it comes to that part. Okay, the other thing I wanted to check out, how does it work when it comes to 16-bit? I did notice some weird stuff going on with the audio now. You can just hear how messed up it sounds. Oh, okay, the audio seems to be working normal like it should be. But the overall quality is not bad at all, and so far I can say they are not using any weird filter. But that's a weird thing going on with the screen size. Let's put it back to full. Return to the game. You can just hear that's going to be sounding messed up. Screen size, go the way back. And that seems to be working just fine. So it's just a MAME emulator problem in combination with the HDMI out. But you can clearly hear it, especially when you're using the HDMI out. So that function seems to be working fine. Let's plug it back in. Let's see how everything looks. It's just fine. So what's kind of funny, I just figured something out. So the display itself will automatically turn off, but when you're going to press the on and off switch over here, there we go, it will turn the display back on. So you're basically having dual screen. So if you're playing with two players and one just want to use, I don't know why, but you want to use yourself, the display on the handheld itself, you do have the option for that. And so far it stays on, but it'll automatically turn off if you're not going to be using it. But let's take a sneak peek in the inside. So first of all, this is quite a big battery. I cannot tell you how much it is because there is no information on it. I'm not going to move it because they're using double-sided tape. So when it comes to the speaker, yep, there is only one of them in the inside. A little bit of a bummer. I wish they added two. It gives them such a better an audio experience with stereo. But over here we're going to get ourselves a failed attempt when it comes to the wires. They tried to put some hot glue on. I wish they had a better, let's say, understanding of putting hot glue on, because this is very dangerous, simply because if you're going to rip it too hard, you're going to rip the cable and then do the re-soldering. But the PCB is one big huge thing, so unfortunately there's no way of switching out the joystick that easily. You need to re-solder and everything. Some of them have like with ribbon cables, so you can swap them out if you don't like them, you want to upgrade them, and etc. The PCB is one big huge PCB, just going to leave it in simply because there's nothing much to see than the buttons, membranes, and of course the input for the display itself. The display, there isn't code in here, but I can tell you when the display gets broken, it's very difficult to find a replacement on AliExpress. Most of the time it's cheaper to buy a new handheld than actually finding or buying a new LCD display. That's quite unfortunate most of the time. So where the X series is going to be involving in something maybe interesting, it cannot beat the competition. The X series is basically a lineup of devices that is unique to themselves. The software is unique strangely, but there is some improvement. The software is way faster now with controlling it, but the overall emulation performance is still lagging, especially when it comes to certain platforms like 860-bit where you're thinking, hey, why isn't this fixed? That is something I've noticed a lot with these devices, and it is a really cheap, let's say an alternative. But again, like when the high quality devices is getting cheaper and cheaper, I do wonder how long it will take before these things are becoming obsolete. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.